Good evening and welcome to another quiet edition of the This Is Ibrox Sunday podcast with myself, Iain Mitchell. I'm joined by JB. First of all, how are you doing, JB? I got nothing much to talk about tonight, sadly.
Yeah, no, just a normal, typical Rangers day. I'm starting to get to the point now where I think we spoke around this when the Americans come in. This has got to be a documentary. There's no way this is real life. So yeah, we're looking forward to the release in June of the shambles that was. But no, you're in the point now where you couldn't make it up. But yeah, let's have a chat about it anyway. See how we go.
Yeah, I'm sure that documentary will do quite well. Hef, likewise, how you doing, mate?
Very well, mate. Really good. I've not been looking at my phone today. Has anything been happening?
Yes, the plan was tonight to cover off some of the game yesterday and then talk about the probable arrival of Kevin Muscat. That was slightly skewed this afternoon when news came out about the talks breaking down and some problems, those sort of red flags that we saw roughly this time last week when it was Gerrard. And at this point, it's been confirmed in the last hour that Kevin Muscat will not be coming to Rangers. A couple of quotes just to go through there. Talks reach an advanced stage, but the deal will not be completed. Then, interestingly, Rangers aim to make an appointment in the coming days. That's came from Chris Jack. A little bit strange that the next best target was lined up, almost signed and sealed, and yet now we're going to have an appointment in the coming days. But JB, I'll come to you first. Just initial thoughts, frustrations of yet another madness fiasco that's happened at this club.
Yeah, well, at least I never watched 90 minutes of Chinese football the other day. So I'm delighted to know a little bit more about that league. So thanks for that. No, I think you've touched on it there, haven't you, in terms of the shambles that it is. I think it's almost just a case. It's when you see the meme going round of 0 days since not last nonsense. We're just in that space, aren't we? I mean, even today with them dropping points, you could have kind of looked at that and gone, "Oh, it's not a bad day, it's not a bad weekend overall." But they wouldn't even let us enjoy that for a couple of hours. But yeah, no, even thinking about a league title now kind of goes to the back of the mind. We just need to get organised. We need to get the ship back shaped up, don't we? But yeah, God, I honestly don't know where they go from here, because any manager coming in now is going to know that it's a panic. There's zero doubt it's a panic, and that whoever they interview now over the next couple of days is in a massive position of strength, because they'll know, they'll sense the desperation within this now. And yeah, there's not a lot of great managers out there, and I think there was certainly two that I think we'd all had our eyes on, and we thought, yeah, that'll work for us. We'll take that and we'll run with that. I think a lot of the Rangers fans, obviously, Gerrard was the first one, and then Muscat. So we thought, right, either of them kind of works, and then we see where we go in the main. But no, we've just been left with egg on our faces once again, and. I think I say this every week, but it's going to be an interesting week ahead, isn't it? So, but yeah, some of the names that are getting banged about now just scream of absolute desperation. People like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Slavan Bilic's name's been mentioned a couple of times, Ralph Hasselhütten. This is the territory we're in. My kind of only hope is there's a statement from the club saying that Thelwell and Stewart have gone, and then that might change the dynamic of whoever we try and bring in now.
Yeah, I think it's weird. That's the kind of only thing that I think would end this in a happy note for fans. Because like you said there, I think Gerrard's obviously the majority of people's number one choice. Not everyone, again, little caveat there. But if not Gerrard, a Gerrard figurehead type. And again, I said it last week, that word figurehead just keeps coming around again and again. But at least Kevin Muscat had some of those same qualities. And again, the rest of that list that we're sort of reverting to from last week and thinking of the names that are popping up now, I'm not seeing anyone there that I'm keen on at all. Hef, again, similar to the question to JB, what's your thoughts on this all? It's not going to be positive, I'm sure, but how are you processing this just now?
It just seems to be that every single day you're going on and thinking, right, okay, we're going to get an announcement here and things are going to move forward. And you can't imagine a way in which it moves backwards, but then it does. It just seems to go back again. And I was saying to yourself, Ian, before we came on, is there's other clubs out there that handle themselves as poorly, and you laugh at them and you think, oh, this is embarrassing, this is awful. And we are that club, and we've been that club since they two came in. Like the late appointment of Martin, for it to take so long for us to actually get him in the first place was embarrassing. Then the actual appointment of him and himself became embarrassing very, very quickly. To then be in the position where we kind of put all our eggs in the one basket. It's kind of egg heavy chat today, but put all our eggs in the one basket to get Gerrard. Then that fell flat. Now we've went in and Muscat. And do you know what really annoyed me more about the Muscat thing was there was nothing from the club to come out and say Muscat is the man that we're getting or Muscat's the man that we're approaching. There are some issues surrounding the Chinese Super League and the finishing of that, but all will be revealed in due course. But nothing. It seems to be that for a club that seems to be wanting to have a lot of change and a lot of positivity towards it and looking for the fans to back them at every given moment, they're not giving us anything to feed off of. It's everything that seems to be coming from the club is drip fed through fan media, and we're getting, oh, this person said this. I think before Martin came in, I've never followed so many like independent journalists before in my life on Twitter to try and get the scoop on what's happened. Like, it shouldn't be that hard. Like, we're a massively supported club, and I think everybody who's going to be watching that will agree with that. But in the terms of like global scale or anything like that, I've not even seen teams in the lower divisions act as poorly as this. We're embarrassing ourselves every single time something like this comes up, and it's getting to the point now where can we sack Thelwell and Stewart at the same time? Is there an option in which that happens, or would it need to be one? Would one of them come out and say, actually, I'm not the problem here, Thelwell's the problem, or Stewart's the problem? We don't know. We don't know who's got what responsibilities. We don't know who's actually in the position to make the decisions. The ones that seem to come out as the most problematic are like the signings of Chermiti, for example, where that's obviously got nothing to do with Patrick Stewart other than maybe giving the go-ahead for him to actually do it. The appointment of the appointment of his son is obviously being given the go-ahead by Stewart, but it can't be Stewart that's coming in and saying, by the way, why don't we get your son in? So it all seems to be pointing towards those two are the problem, and I think the only saving grace that Thelwell has shown in like since his appointment has been the fact that he stood and spoke to a fan after getting ridiculed away. That's the only saving grace, the only thing that's happened that you would maybe say, do you know what, maybe there is a decent person. And actually his press release was pretty decent in terms of the timing of it, and what he said I thought was okay. But everything strategically and everything that seems to be happening behind the scenes, it seems to be that the Thelwell that we get and the Thelwell that what's going on behind the scenes are two completely different people, and the one that we don't see, I'm very, very worried about.
Yeah, no, I think it's all spot on. It's really worrying for me, and I think this is quite an obvious thing, that it's all being played out so publicly in the media, like every sort of step we're taking and we're narrowing down, we're getting closer, and all these 7 interviews, all that stuff that's been said. But then it seems like today it's been Muscat, again, it's maybe kind of painting in a bad image even further, but Muscat had the conversations with Thelwell, with Patrick Stewart, and that's then when problems have arisen. Same idea as Gerrard, came over, spoke to the American owners, then got to that bit more granular detail with your Thelwells and Stewart about what does my role look like, what am I responsible for, what do I do day to day, and how much of a say do I have? And that's when it's fallen down. Obviously last week as well, Danny Rowe pulled himself out of the conversation, whether that was him not thinking he was getting a job or we're wasting too much time on him. There's many reasons it could be, but it just kind of points to the fact, and JB, I'll come to you with this one, that I don't see how Thelwell and Stewart can survive. I mean, I was going to talk about the game at some point, this podcast. I'll try and squeeze that in somewhere, but there was obviously the banners yesterday at the game, which I think were pretty direct to those two in particular. The one in the second half, which simply said, Stewart, Thelwell, pack your bags and go before we pack them for you. It's turned pretty toxic. It's been toxic all season, let's not kid ourselves, but that attention that was on Russell Martin has now gone right to those two, and it's just going to get louder knowing today's news.
Yeah, most definitely. I think it's untenable now. You bought, as I say, you're bordering on ridiculous. I know that there could be like an accusation of we could feel entitled, but as you just touched on there, this isn't entitlement. This is just absolute basket case stuff. This is like, as I say, I can't ever remember a time where I've seen anything like this. This is the type of stuff that Watford do. You know, when you look at it from afar and you go, "What is going on there?" You know, like I've got a lot of mates who non-Rangers fans who are just have text already, going, "What is going on?" Just seen the news on Sky Sports News, and then it's like I was all in on Gerrard last week, and then I was all in on Muscat come yesterday, and now it's just like, what's the point? And it's getting to the point where it's like a sign, and it's not nothing. You can't get excited about anything until the kind of the scarf's above the head type of thing. But normally with a manager, it's a little bit more clean cut than that. As I say, at least we haven't got to wait till November for the new manager to come in, or the end of November. But who knows? But yeah, back to your question. These just two can't stay. If you look at such a short space of time, as touched on there, the time it took on to get the new manager in was ridiculous. The time it took to get some of the recruitment is beyond questionable. I think we all want to see the best in players, but you brought that fella off, Chimiti on yesterday off the bench, 8 million pound striker. There's nothing there. It's not even as if you're buying potential where you see glimpses. It just looks like a big, athletic, awkward character. And with all due respect, the SPL's full of them. Do you know what I mean? You think of it, he's the type of guy that if he was playing for, I was going to say Dundee, but that'd be a bit timely. If he was playing for Livingston, he wouldn't catch your eye. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing about him. You can't see a good touch. You can't see any pace, any skill, any power. He just looks like a big giraffe, you know, and it's just not what we're needing right now. And then you could go through the Fernandez signing again, not making the matchday squad again yesterday, not buying any experience to kind of support some of these younger lads you brought in. The list just goes on and on and on of just massive own goals all over the place. And now, and obviously they carry on with the way he come out and publicly backed Martin, as you touched on earlier. Which at the time, I'll be honest, I kind of didn't mind that, because it was almost like, right, there's a little bit of unity there. There's the back of the man, and let's hope that things turn, even though we all knew that it wasn't going to. But at least sometimes you just need to kind of just bite your tongue a little bit. Not that we're very good at that as Rangers fans, but it's just slowly but surely it just fell apart. So it slowly but surely fell apart, but also so quickly. If somebody had said to you, we're not even into the end of October, and we're potentially going to go through, we're going to be on our second to third manager. You're going to be on your, if you take into account Stevie Smith, you're going to be looking to chase the brand new director of football. You're going to be chasing his son, who's the newly appointed head scout. I mean, that lad's onto a hide into nothing. And then you're looking to chase obviously the CEO as well. So yeah, from top to bottom, it just absolutely stinks. And one group of people that are getting away with all of this is the players. I said a few weeks ago on one of the pods, and I went through our starting 11, and I said, if Aberdeen signed these players in the summer, would we be arsed? I'm talking about taking kids from other academies, taking players on loan from Wolves, signing a guy from the English Championship, bringing Bojan Miovski back. Kind of go through everybody, and you go, would we be asked if anybody else signed these type of players? And the answer is no, we wouldn't. We wouldn't see anyone as a threat with the players that we've signed. The only one is Kasama is the only one that is showing a little bit. Asgard showed a glimpse yesterday, but then he had to then cup his ears to try and make himself a little bit more impressionable, which gives you Josh Windass vibes in terms of, mate, read the fucking room. Like, it's not the time and place to be doing stuff like that. Do it if you just scored a hat-trick. Do you know what I mean? And the game's wrapped up. Don't do it in the first half with a gang of teammates that are absolute bottle jobs. So no, it's I'm struggling I'm actually struggling for any kind of positivity running through the club at the moment.
I think that's a very good point. And Hef, I'll ask you a very difficult question here, because JB's spot on. The players we know aren't in the main up to it. The scouting department's a mess. The boardroom's a mess. The coaching staff is non-existent. why would any manager in the right mind jump to come to Rangers? And yes, I know we're a massive club. We can be a great club to be at. I'm sure in successful times there's not many better places. But given what we're going through just now, given how everything feels from boardroom to fans, that the whole picture is negative and a mess just now, it kind of makes sense why there's that's three first picks. I'll say your top three candidates anyway have all turned us down in what, 10 days.
Do you know, it seems like going back to the dark days when we got relegated back down the leagues, as what sort of player would come and play for us when we go down there, and the main thing would be money. I suppose is that if they're a manager like a Stephen Robinson, he's going to probably triple his wages if he comes to Rangers and takes on a managerial post. Obviously, Stephen Robinson would want that job anyway because he's a fan and he's grew up in Northern Ireland and stuff like that. But the worrying thing for me would be a manager who's going to take this on would be insane in the best part, but also it would have to be someone that would just be a complete footpad to just listen to everything that Thelwell and Stewart have got to say, because by all accounts, whether or not you choose to believe what's been said, whether it's to do with financials, whether it's to do with the timing of Muscat, whether it's to do with the level of involvement he has in recruitment, whatever way you look at it, someone who's going to come in is going to have to be in a position where they say, yep, everything's fine, I could work within those realms. So you've either got two options, which is someone who's not of that standard, who's going to take on that job and just be a scapegoat and just listen to what everything's said, and maybe it does work. I really, really doubt that it would. Or you get another character who's like Russell Martin, who goes in and says, don't worry about it, I'll sort everything. Everything will come good, everything will be great. Give it 3 years, everything will be fine. You go, we've not got 3 years. I suppose at this point in time, what you're saying is that, right, well, the league's done. What we're looking at is some sort of cup glory, whether it be a run in the Scottish Cup, and not a run, a win in the Scottish Cup, or seeing through and getting us the League Cup. I mean, that second option is very, very far away, considering that we don't have a manager and that game is in a fortnight time. So I can't imagine, like you said, JB, as well, that the players are, on the best part, honking. Every single player that I have seen has not played 2 games in a row. Maybe Gassama has had 2 games in a row where you've thought, actually, well done, fair enough. And that, at the weekend, was Gassama's worst performance for us, which was strange considering in the first half everybody's levels were lifted, but he just seemed to drop. Now, I don't know whether or not that was because Asgard kind of took on part of his place in the pitch and that kind of limited his effectivity, but I think the harrowing thing is that anybody who takes this job is going to be somebody who's way lower down in the levels of what we would expect to come in, or it's going to be somebody who's just coming for the money because it's a well-paid job in a club that's in turmoil, and they might feel as if, I can't be too harshly criticised at this club, because they'll just blame Martin. They'll just say, oh, well, I'm taking on the role of what he's left. You know, you've got to give me time. And again, we don't have time. We need somebody to come in and just steady the ship and gather some wins, because I don't think that there's a squad there that's good enough to contend and win the league. But I do think that there's a squad there that's capable of seeing past Dundee United at home. And I think that's all really what we're looking for just now. Oh, well, we're looking for Thelwell and Stewart to leave, but before that, I think people would just like to see us pick up some easy victories. And I thought that yesterday was, especially after the first 45 minutes, it was ours. It was in our hands, and we just let it slip. And that's that. We can't criticise Stevie Smith for that. I mean, he's only been in for a couple of training sessions, and I don't expect that. That's entirely on the players. So yes, I'd be worried to see what a manager does when they come in and see what they're actually got on paper, because if they come in and see, if they do their due diligence before they come, it doesn't surprise me that managers are pulling out.
That's probably what happened yesterday. Muscat's watched that second half and thought, sack that, I'm not going near that. JB, we'll talk about the game after this next question, but I think a kind of pertinent one just now is, who do you want as manager? Because for me, it's a case of, as Hef said, someone that's going to be desperate, out of work for a while, maybe unproven, down south type, or it's going to be someone with like a Rangers history, whether that's, looking back to Barry Ferguson, does Neil McCann fancy it on his own? None of them are perfect, but what was your ideal now? I don't know. I'm pretty sure ideal isn't out there, but is there anything that you could cling on to?
I just don't know whether the Gerrard talks can be revived. It's a brass neck for all involved, but I think if that could be revived, I think that would probably be my first choice. And again, not because I think Steven Gerrard is a fantastic football manager. I just think it needs something. It needs a spark. It needs someone that's going to kick every ball for us on the side. You know what I mean? If there was a perfect candidate out there now, I think the Rangers fans would have been rallying for him already. So therefore, I mean, seeing some of the names mentioned tonight, the likes of your Gary O'Neill's is another one. Slavan Bilic has been mentioned a couple of times there. I can see. Yeah, and Klopp is out of work.
Right.
That would be a bit of a twist. I don't know if anyone got a fiver on Gareth Southgate last week. I know one or two did. Yeah, so there's nothing out there that's jumping out to me at all. Derek McInnes would be one that I think you've certainly got to start considering something like that.
I think after today, he is even less likely, given the results that have happened. Maybe next weekend could change that, but if he gets a good result next weekend, he'd be insane to come at this point. And I've been one of the people saying that, of course, he'd come.
Yeah.
His boy club, he plays for us, all this stuff, but this second,
I get that. I get that, but he's not. If he's going to come to us, he's not coming for 6. He's not coming for 7 months. Do you know what I mean? He's coming with a chance, and I actually think whoever comes in is actually good, as long as it's not nothing ridiculous like a Solskjaer or something. I think the fans will run with whoever comes in now for a wee bit. I think Stephen Robertson's another one I'd kind of put into that category of could probably come in straight away and would get us working really hard and be all there. My only concern with a McInnes or a Robinson would be the type of player that you're going to attract. Do you know what I mean? Like with a Muscat, I think we would have opened up the Asian market a little bit more. Well, certainly a lot more than what we've kind of been involved in recently. We'd have been on probably the front foot for any Australian footballers who tend to compete pretty well with on the national stage. Gerrard speaks for himself in terms of the type of player he would have been able to attract. Probably would have got a couple of ex-England internationalists towards the end of the careers, i.e. Jermaine Defoe types. Probably had the finger on the pulse with some of the really good young English talent that was out there. If you think the likes of a Joe Aribo type deal. So these guys would bring a name with them and something with them. My only concern with the domestic route would be that concern of what does that look like long term. However, that said, it's sometimes whoever pays the most money, and that's one thing over the years we've been quite good at. Didn't do Alex McLeish any harm. He was able to attract some really good players and I was performing really well at the time. Obviously, things naturally it was a difficult time for the club. It was kind of started to be a little bit of a difficult time for the club at that point as well. But I'm just having flashbacks of Stephen Hughes and Emerson running the midfield for us. But yeah, I honestly don't know. Back to your question in terms of who would I want. I think going back to some of the names that have previously been mentioned and see if we can make something work from there. But no, don't think there's anybody out there. But there's a lot of people I wouldn't want. So your likes of your Sean Dyches, your Rafa Benitez's, Graham Potter's getting linked with the Sweden job that I read the other day, because that was one that was kind of floating about. And then the other, your Solskjaer's another one. We're not going to get the perfect manager. Let's have it right. The perfect manager for Rangers Football Club right now is not out there. What we're going to need to do is get somebody that we can see why it might work. If we go down the route of a manager that's been a failure in 3 or 4 different clubs on the back of coming out sort of something horrific, then there's nothing there. The only one you could maybe point that same finger at Gerrard. However, I think we know what Gerrard would bring in terms of not just his football management ability, but I think the professionalism I think he'd bring back to the club would be massively important.
Yeah, I've just been sent a screenshot. There's a private jet coming from Norway to Scotland tonight, which has now got people saying Solskjaer. So that's top of your list if you don't once. That's ideal timing.
Is it not Knutson?
Let's hope so. It's quite a good point you make there, though, about Gerrard or that type getting the fans back, because we'll look at the game here, and for that first half yesterday, Hef, things were pretty good. The team were playing well. It was a lineup I think most of us expected. It's going back to the very start of the game. I don't think there was anything surprising in there. A couple of guys dropped out that have been playing, like Mikey Moore, for example, but really good first half. Some players like Asgard, as we mentioned, Ant-Man was good. Cornelius, I thought, was pretty dominant at the back, done everything well. And the fans were back at it. And it was just that perfect example we've been saying all season, that if you give us something good on the pitch, the fans will back it. The fans will sing. The guy that sits beside me turned to me and said, the new players here must be shocked, but try to work out what's going on here, because the fans were into it. The team were playing well. Everything was rosy for 45 minutes. It was quite a nice time for a short spell, wasn't it?
Yeah, I've wrote some notes down from the game, from watching it, and the first thing I've got is that we were far more direct. I think that idea of Cornelius played a ball in like the first 5-10 minutes, just like a wee dink over the top into Miovski, and I thought that would never have happened under Martin, because it would have been a potential loss of possession. And actually, we played the majority of the first half in their half, and we never actually conceded much space. I felt as if we were always on the front foot. We were looking to play the pass and make the move and find each other, and people were looking for the ball and actually wanting. Asgard, for one, I thought he played out his skin. I think if you'd finished the game at half-time, you would have had no questions about who was man of the match. He was absolutely the man for it, and he wanted on the ball, some lovely turns. Defenders were desperate to chop him up in the air the first chance they got. I can remember a time that a player has probably given that amount of reason for another team to kind of want to chop him down. I thought he was so clinical with that finish. I thought it was excellent. I mean, it felt as if by the time I was sitting watching it in the Copeland and it left his foot, it was in the back of the net. Like, there didn't seem, it was so fast, couldn't have fit it any sweeter. I thought Ant-Man was good. I thought him in the battle with the number 11, the left back, I thought that was really tidy. His work ethic was really good as well. The amount of times that not even himself had lost possession in the middle of the park, and he was busting his gut to run right back to retrieve it and then try and change it and not just play it back.
The reaction that I was getting for the fans as well was something, because it's such a basic thing. Footballers tracked back, but we've not seen it all season. You're not seeing that effort, that desire to win it back and then in turn be quite difficult to play against. That was refreshing almost.
It was, and do you know what? It was an indication that the fans are just like, we're not looking for you to. Even like, whether you look at it through both ways, we're not looking for you to run through a brick wall for the club necessarily, but equally, we're not looking for you to skin 10 players and rifle it into the back of the net every time, which would be lovely. But what we are looking for is for you to just look as if you're trying a little bit to make the runs as if you actually want the ball, rather than Miovski, who drifts in between 3 and 4 defenders and shouts for a ball over the top with like 5 yards of space for it to run into, like, as if we've got some sort of player, like we've got Iniesta in the middle of the park that can play that pass. That Ant-Man was just doing the basics really good, which we've been crying out for on here for I don't know how long, is play the pass, make the run, hit the ball into the box, do the easy stuff, and people will respond. And I actually thought that after that goal, that the atmosphere in the stadium was similar, if not better than like a European night, in terms of, for it, because it was a 3 o'clock on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Normally you've got people who are going, oh, I don't even know if I'll bother going along today, or I'll stick the first half out, then I'll jump to the pub or whatever. People were up on their feet singing, and you wouldn't have expected that. Whereas the last few European nights that we've been to have been the worst probably that I've experienced in my time as a Rangers fan, for just the lack of atmosphere, the lack of guile that anybody seems to have for actually wanting. It's almost like a chore to come and watch it, like you see people. But no, I thought, just on the game, just to go back to it, I thought Gassama was probably the worst he's played for us. But then again, that's harsh considering he's been carrying the team since the start of the season. I did think that Asgard dropped over wide left and kind of took in a lot of his space, which then meant that whenever Gassama used to have that space where he could burst with Magoma and play little threes in there, Asgard was just kind of taking that space, and it meant then that Gassama was just sitting really tight on the wing with no real space for him to move into. But it did lead to Asgard probably playing, in fact, definitely playing the best he's played.
Yep.
And then I think once we scored, there just seemed to be like a big lull. But it wasn't a lull in that it was, we looked as if we were going to concede. It just looked as if we were controlling the game and seeing it about, and we were still trying to create things. But no, I thought on the whole the first half was excellent. And I would have been quite happy knowing that we were going to come out and probably take another 2 off of them, but it wasn't to be.
Not quite. No, it was. For me, it felt quite routine. I don't mean routine this season because we've not been winning games, obviously. But those games in seasons gone by where you just go along, Saturday 3:00 game, you win 2 or 3-0. You don't talk about it much. It doesn't end up in an end of season reel or anything like that. But it's just doing the business. We weren't spectacular. We weren't incredible, but we were solid. As you said, 23 shots we had, which is the most I've had in any game at home all season, and that's just at half time. Bear in mind, so that kind of tells the difference. And I think what Stevie Smith said before the game, that he was going to try and simplify things and not be so tactical and so detailed. I think, as you said, a couple of direct passes. Jack Butland went long from a goal kick. Like, wow, that really shocked me, and it was all feeling pretty good. JB, that's the positive part over. So again, we're back to normality here. What the hell happened at half time? Because that was like a different team that came out on both sides. Don't get me wrong, a slight tactical switch from Dundee United. They went 2 up front, brought on a big man up front, and not only could we not handle that, but it was just absolute normality. It was resuming a little bit.
Yeah, no, just to back out the first half. Yeah, I thought the players looked hungry. That was probably the phrase I'd use in the first half. I think everybody looked as if they were playing without the weight of the world on the shoulders. Players trying things, and I thought everyone to a man just looked up for it. As you say, Gassama didn't have his usual magic, but as I've touched on there, in terms of Antman was running into that space quite a lot, so probably has to do a slightly different role. Did look quite frustrated when he come off. But then, as you say, the second half, we were warned by Southampton fans that Russell Martin does not have his teams fit. The teams are not fit, and I think that's screaming out, to be honest. If you look at some of the games this season, especially when things have started to go wrong, it's almost as if there's a mental fatigue first, and then the physical fatigue then comes in very, very quickly, and sometimes it goes the other way. Yesterday, I think the physical fatigue kicked in quite almost after about, I would probably say after about 55 minutes. It was just a case of these lads are done. Raskin looked done. I thought Raskin was terrible second half yesterday. He just looked like he was just wandering about. Certainly, I mean, again, played a lot of minutes for Belgium over the last couple of days and performed extremely well. You do wonder, and again, I know he's a bit of a blue-eyed boy, Raskin, but it's another game where it's a really poor performance from him in terms of somebody that wants to showcase at the level that they're at. And again, you could genuinely, for that second half, you get the scatter going out for every single one of them. I thought Magoma looked like a kid that should be playing academy football.
They targeted him as well. They were going high balls at him, running down the right wing constantly.
That long ball over the top every time. I thought Jack Butland, I would probably say is, I've got to give Jack Butland a hell of a lot of credit. He's had a really good season. I'm struggling to think of many games where you go, he should have got to that one. I think he spilled one against Motherwell, first game of the season. I thought, oh God, here we go. They never scored at that instant, but he's keeping us in games. As in, and I know people might say, well, that's his job. Do you know what I mean? I'll go all Roy Keane on me. But he's making really good saves. He's doing the basics well, but he's then taking it to the next level. But James Tavernier, second half, was shocking. Took his goal well. Can't take the goal of him. I thought Mikey Moore worked well and pulled that back. But again, you're looking for your leaders. This team is leaderless. This team is toothless. And we've been saying that for years. As I say, how many times are we going to say about James Tavernier? He's always going to give you big moments because he's always on the pitch. He's always there. So yeah, don't be surprised if he does pop up with the odd goal. Took his goal really well, but there was a situation second half, very late on. He jotted over to the far side.
I'm glad you're bringing this up. Yes.
Shot it over to the far side of the pitch to take a throw. It took him 90 seconds to get there. He then threw it to the opposition, and then he never got back into his position for the rest of the game. Like, what is that all about? Do you know what I mean? It's almost like it's my ball. And as I said,
tried to do that long throw and it didn't even clear the box. Like, they had 2 defenders before our first attacker.
Yeah,
and never even cleared it. It's so embarrassing.
It was again schoolboy stuff, amateurish. Suter, Grant Hanley is as good as John Suter. I don't care what anyone says. He's a cart horse. He's very good in European games where he gives you that, as I say, that siege stuff where put your block on the line. He wasn't even doing that yesterday. Cornelius, I like the big fella. He's probably coming at a really difficult time, so don't want to kind of go all in on him too much. Asgard showed glimpses in the first half of kind of what we thought we were going to be getting. Ant-Man, I think, just flatters to deceive. I thought he had some nice link-up play yesterday. I thought he worked quite hard, but he had a chance just before half-time. And it was almost a case of you could have put a traffic cone in the middle of the goal and the traffic cone wouldn't have moved. A child would have saved that shot. And you're thinking, you're a professional footballer. You train 5-6 days a week. You get put 7 yards out from goal and you haven't got the ability to miss a goalkeeper. You know, with power, just put your foot through it, put your laces through it. There's just so weak. Miofsky, I thought, was non-existent. And then Gassama, who we touched on. So, as I say, unfortunately, it's scattergun time for the players. I think that the banner was kind of indicating that there's nowhere else to hide for these guys. The players are getting it next. Let's not escape that either. If Stewart and, by some great chance, Stewart and Thelwell go, I don't think it'll be the manager they'll target then. I think it'll be the players. Because some of these players aren't fit to wear the shirt, unfortunately. As I say, I don't think teams look at us anymore and go, this is going to be difficult. I think teams look at us and go, I'm going to enjoy playing against these today. And it's petrifying, to be perfectly honest. We've got to start getting our heads into the space that this team could finish 5th and 6th. It's not beyond the realms of possibility. Let's not be kidding. It does happen. Just because we're not used to it. You've only got to look at the carry on at Man United finishing. Man United and Spurs last year made it to the Europa League finals, but then finishing 5th and 6th from bottom in the English Premier League, there or thereabouts. Let's not be kidding here. This is a mess. This is a massive mess. And as much as we think a Messiah might come in and fix it, hence the reason why I think that we do need a motivational character. And the thought of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer motivating anyone is petrifying. So I've had 2 texts already since we've been on.
Every time I look at my phone, there's something about Solskjaer which I'm really not enjoying.
Thoughts on Solskjaer. So again, just strikes you as a yes man. Just come in and very, very mild mannered, very nice, very articulates himself nice. Is he the guy that's bouncing into the changing groups, absolutely fuming at half time with the result? You'd be like, shut up, dickhead. Do you know what I mean? Sit down. Do you know what I mean? He hasn't got that aura. If he walks into a room, you just give him a glance. Do you know what I mean? Whereas, as I say, if it's a Gerrard or a Muscat or a Souness, a Walter Smith, a Alex McLeish, these type of guys, they walk into a room and everybody kind of sits back and go, "Ooh, like he's here, the boss is here," type of thing.
Yeah.
No, he's not doing that. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's yeah. Is that enough negativity for you for the second half?
No, yet. I'm going to keep
a bit more.
sharing this.
Yeah.
Hef, I'm thinking of the 2 goals here. The first one really, really annoys me, to be honest. And I've not seen much talk. Maybe it was just I've not watched a lot of the game back. Obviously, I was there yesterday. It was more in-person feelings. But that first goal, which Tab doesn't do too well. I don't think Butland covers himself in glory as much as he's saved us at other times, so I'm not going to berate Butland anyway. But Joe Rothwell does nothing to try and stop this shot. And like I say, I don't see anyone talking about it. For me, he jumps out the way a little bit. That's when I want my destroyer type midfielder rampaging into that. And again, it's such an easy goal to concede. And if we look at the second goal as well, it's a wonder strike, of course, as you don't expect Craig Sibbald to score from 35 yards, right? I don't think he scored more than one goal in the last couple of seasons at all. So I get that it's absolutely out the blue, but we make it so easy for teams to have shots at goal that every now and again they're going to put it in the right corner, put it in the top. It's just so easy to score against us at times, isn't it?
We were talking about it in the bus home, and what I hadn't really probably picked up on was I noticed in the second half that there seemed to be a massive gap between our back four and the midfield. There was just a big hole in the middle of the park that they just wanted to penetrate, and it looked as if Goodwin's went in the middle at the half time there and just said, listen, that's where we want to play. We want to put the big guy up top, keep the defence low, don't let them come high, and then the midfielders will just drop in behind. And because we were playing with Rothwell and Raskin, who neither of which were really playing as a 6, it was more like 2 8s and a 10. So nobody dropped in. So every single time, whether or not the Dundee United boy, I can't even remember his name, but the big number 77, whether or not he lost the ball or won it, the second ball was going to be picked up by the Dundee United player naturally anyway, because our midfield was too high and the defence was too low. And that's where the difference between the tactics comes in, is that Stevie Smith had admitted it himself. He came in and went probably a bit too naive, and that we went out and said, let's just keep doing the same thing. And they've went in and said, let's mix this up a bit. And we've not really responded to that. And the idea
is that the difference of an experienced manager against a non-experienced manager? I know Stevie Smith has plenty of coaching credentials. He's been at the club a long time, played for us. I think it's almost a decade, or if not more. He's been coaching in and amongst the club, but it's very different, obviously, coaching young boys and try to develop them and train them against a Jim Goodwin sort of knowledge veteran of the league who saw something that wasn't working, changed it, and then we couldn't ever get control back. Even towards the end of the game, we're pushing for a goal. It's that rock and roll style football of just going for it. There's never a control. And I was talking to John Walker actually this morning about this, because again, we all would love a Stephen Davis player, obviously, but just that type of guy who can say at 1-1, like, well, let's calm down a bit. It's 1 each. Let's keep our foot in the ball for 10 minutes, build ourselves back into the game. That just doesn't happen. And I think that's where the experienced coach / experienced player in the pitch could have done something for us there. And that's, please don't think I'm bashing Stevie Smith. He's stepped into a role I don't think anyone would want, just to make sure that's out there.
I think he would be the first person to come out and admit the fact that he is inexperienced as a manager. I think he's actually came out and said that he's comfortable there. He's ready to be in that sort of position, whether that's soon or later or whatever. But he feels as if he's a lot more comfortable there than. And the impression is that he's probably more comfortable there than which he thought he would have been initially, which was quite promising for himself from a personal level. But I thought that the message before the game, like you touched on, was that idea of keeping it simple. I think if you're 1-0 up and you're going in and talking about how to change it and talking about, well, if they do this, then we'll do this, but if they do that, then we'll do that. I think at that point in time, given the players haven't really kicked their arse for the full season and they're actually seeing a goal at Ibrox and we're going in at half-time ahead, I think Stevie Smith's probably just thought, keep doing what you're doing, everything should be fine. But they didn't. I don't even think it's a case of saying we went in and we came out playing at the same levels, the same performance. I think JB's spot on as well. I think we were knackered. Like the team seemed to lag any sort of physicality, the effort to jump and win the ball, the effort to track the second man. And it just seemed as if every single chance that the header went, everything that we had was the second ball was just being swamped up because we were lazy and just looking for it. And it just, I think Stevie Smith can't be criticised, or any manager who would have went in and said, right, Jim Goodwin's going to see us out here, because I think at that point in time, Rangers looked quite comfortable in that win. And I think the difference between someone like Jim Goodwin and what Stephen Smith is that Jim Goodwin's thought 1-0 down at Ibrox here is a good position to be in. We can come back and scrape a point here. And when he came out and saw just how bad that we came out, he's thought, actually, we can go for the 3 points here. And he came out and said that in his press conference. He actually felt as if it was 2 points dropped. Now, I don't tend to give Jim Goodwin's opinions any time of day because he's a prat, but the fact that he's actually came out and a Dundee United manager is coming away saying it felt as if it was 2 points dropped is just really shows you the position that we're in. But it's like we've all been saying, that you say that first goal, the first goal and the second goal are the same for me, because the second goal, the boy should score the first attempt. The boy who's through, I mean, Butland does well again and he makes the save, but there's no urgency after that of going, and I know it's really short, the period of time that it happens in, but there's not like a, oh, right, okay, we better get back there, we're switched off. It's just, oh, we got away with one. Phew. Oh, there he is there, 30 yards out, bang, top corner. Oh, well, didn't see that happening. You go, no, well, if you had just actually put in the effort, and if you'd got up and got on the front foot and realised your mistake in the first instance, you would have been there to put a block in or put a tackle in. But everything just seems to be so lackadaisical. Everything seems to be so passive in that second half. And it might be a fitness issue. It might just be that these players don't really know the experience of winning and how to see out a win, whether it's a league or whether it's a game. Just being in that position where when it's tight, they know, right, let's up a gear here. Or like you said, a Stephen Davis who'll say, give me the ball, I'll control the game here, I'll control the tempo. Nobody seems to be working together within the team. It's like 11 individuals go out, and we just need to see that hopefully 2 or 3 of them can pass the ball together in a spell and it will work out. But there doesn't seem to be, even in the videos that the media like drop out with like the EAFC stuff, it's all, oh, let's put these guys together. They don't even look like pally or anything. They just look as if it's like, all right, we're together, and they're all so friendly. None of them want to slag each other. I don't. That's pure taking it to another level of like stupidity. But you just don't get the sense that any of them are actually.
I get it, because they're
together.
not fighting for each other. I think it's very telling that second half was kind of building momentum for Dundee United, and they got 4 yellow cards in about 10 minutes. And for anyone who was at the game or watched it, the referee was shocking. Actually lost the game at some point in terms of just no control whatsoever.
That first yellow card, sorry interrupting, but that first yellow card, that was never a yellow card.
That was the accumulation. Yeah.
Exactly, aye. No, I thought that he totally lost control, and he just had to give that booking just to get some sort of authority back, but he was woeful. But
then if you look at it from our view, that's them charging into tackles. Few bad ones in there, of course. I think Asgard takes a sore one. There's a free kick that Asgard gives away when he takes it by the boy, and then he gives it a free kick the other way. I was losing my mind in the moment there, but we just don't have that know-how, like you say, of not even seeing a lead out, but just calming things down, just getting foot in the ball, let's get some control, let's get up the pitch. It just felt like it was almost inevitable to any Rangers fan watching that we're going to concede here. Didn't see us conceding a second so soon, obviously, but you knew the goal was coming, and I just felt like the players knew it was coming. JB will try and end a little bit positive in terms of the match itself. It's a very good goal for the equaliser. Good play by Mikey Moore, like you say. Tav didn't have a great game all round, but he does step up in those kind of moments. Did you think we'd get the winner when you scored in 87th minutes? I think they added, 6 or 7 minutes, was it?
I think it was.
Yeah,
I did, but I'm probably about 9 pints in. So, it was. It's hope, isn't it? And again, it's the old hope that kills you. However, I was getting to a point where I was going, I'll take a point here. Do you know what I mean? They just seemed for the last 2 or 3 minutes just to seem to throw everything at us. Everything was all going to be deflections, and that was a hell of a save Butland pulled off late on with his left hand and stuff. And again, the players just looked completely disorganised. They just looked dead on their feet. And they almost looked as if they'd just got 120 minutes. It was horrendous. I don't think the subs brought any kind of fresh energy to the team. Very much so from more done well, but we're bordering on done well there. Do you know what I mean? Done the basics. He chased down, he held it, and he laid it off. I think You say you want us to try and finish on a positive.
Try my best, man.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything. The players they created that chance to kind of give us something. I just think we've just been sucked of all type of positivity and hope. Do you know what I mean? I think we weren't that second half. We weren't creating enough. I think I put in the group chat at half time. If we play like that in the second half and don't win, I put it down to lack of quality, lack of conviction, taking your chances. Because then you turn around and go from a manager perspective. We've created 6 or 7 really good chances there. I know Hef touched on Asgard, had a couple of half decent efforts. If I'm being critical, he's got to be putting at least one of them away. Do you know what I mean? He can't be kicking them in front of goal. There was one where the Dundee United player was lying on the deck. He could have just took a touch, composed himself, and passed it into the corner of the net. And he thought he did force a save out of the keeper on one of them as well. But
you might have seen this one better than me, but there was that Chermiti header in the second half, and I think we were 2-1 down at the time, so it wasn't like that late on in the game. But it's right in front of goal. Should he be scoring that? Again, I don't know if you remember the exact moment, but that was just the one thought that I had. If you're paying that money for a guy 6 yards, just head it in. Like, come on.
I've got to be honest, lads. I don't think we can hold the fee. I'll keep doing it, but I don't think we can hold the fee against them because
you can't. But any proven,
yeah,
I'm saying proven, it's not proven in any sense. But a striker should score for there, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I just think the 10 million thing is it's just ridiculous. The fact that we've paid that type of money for someone like that with that experience and skill set, it's just absolutely wild. But yeah, anybody, that's what your number 9's in there to do. It doesn't matter whether it's Danilo, whether it was Dessers, whether it's Miofsky, whoever that guy is who's leading the line is your number 9. If you're putting chances like that into the box, I'm expecting them to work the keeper. Do you know what I mean? And I think it was just almost a case of you're not expecting your players to score now. That's kind of the thing. I think when Asgard did what he done, it was like, what is this? What is this witchcraft? But I think it's creating chances for our number 9s. I think is a massive problem with this team. I can't think of Miofsky having a chance yesterday. Chermiti, as you say, I think had a half chance. We're creating nothing for these lads. Must be a horrible team to play in because there's no. Hef touched on it there. The team shape was absolutely all over the place. And again, it all links back, and I think I've said this on a few pods now. In the summer, not going out and signing a bit of experience and a bit of know-how and a couple of leaders. And they didn't have to be the best players in the world. But again, we'll point to the obvious ones because they were linked. But like your Connor Cody's and your McLean's, your Kenny McLean's, these guys would not shut up. Your Connor Goldsons of all, they wouldn't shut up for 90 minutes and just constantly demanding and pushing and pressing and putting people into position and everything that goes there. Who's the organizer in there? Who's the general? Who's beating the chest? Who's telling guys to work hard? Who are players looking at as the example to go, bloody hell, I'm going to get in there and help me mate here because he's running his bollocks off. There's no one. We're absolutely destroyed of winners within that team. We've got some talented footballers, got some talented lads. There's no doubt about that. And every one of them at some point in their career has proved that they are a good player. But I don't think I struggle to see more than 1 or 2 that have got the ability and the heart and the mindset to play for this club. I'd probably say, looking through that start 11 yesterday, Butland is probably the only one for me. And 1 or 2 others on their day, i.e. Raskin on his day. When he's in the mood, then he's got it. Do you know what I mean? But then I go through everyone else, and I'm sorry, I'm looking at 6 and 7s out of 10 across the board.
Yep, I think it's very fair. We'll leave the game itself there. I know Craig and Kieran done a good post-match video on it yesterday, so by all means check through the channel for that one. But the Jack Butland comment is very apt. Hef, there was Jack Butland done the press conference for like the player side of it yesterday after the game, which was embargoed until today. But JB's comments are very accurate here because the line I've quoted from him says, "I'd love to know exactly what goes through half the lads' heads at times." And that's when he's talking about being 1-0 up and comfortable to then 2-1 down. And Butland, again, it's not without his faults, but he is that one player this season that's been pretty reliable, done his job, and basically stood up when a lot of others haven't. It's very difficult for him to have that much impact on the game as just the goalie, but that feels like quite a personal dig at certain players. I don't know if it's the attitude of them. There was a comment just a moment ago that I've lost now, but it said about how the players don't hate losing enough, which is something that Tav also alluded to. Again, I'm forgetting which game now. We've had so many bad performances, but that's your two main leaders in the club coming out with a comment like that. It's pretty damning, and just another layer of mess that this club's in just now.
I was going to touch on the fact that what JB was saying as well is that idea of who is it that's going to organise them, who is the one that's going to come out and be the leader. I don't know if there's enough of them there that are even looking for a leader. There doesn't seem to be. I think you could have the loudest voice. You could be I think that there's so many players in that team who need the arm round that actually somebody going in there and going through them would probably make them melt even further. I think that the idea that we've got Tavernier, who's always been quoted as he's not that sort of leader because football's moved on and we don't need that anymore, and that's not what success brings. What we need is to work constructively and everything else. But I even think that if you had someone in there who was like a bit of a general and went in and said, I demand this from you and I demand that from you, I think they would either bite back and go off and be sitting in the physios for 6 weeks and saying, no, I'm injured, I can't play, and shy away from it. Or I think that you'd get the other end of it where it would just be a case of, oh, well, who do you think you're talking to? And I don't think there would be, I don't think anybody in that squad looks as if they would take it, because I think either you look at Raskin seems to be the player that both managers with Clement and Martin seem to struggle with, because he is a bit of a fiery character and he is somebody that does demand from the players. But if he's stopped doing that, that speaks volumes, because it's saying that actually there's not much point in me doing this anymore because the squad of players that are there aren't listening and are mince. So there's no point in me actually wasting my effort and going through them because they're not even taking it on, they're not listening. And then if that happens and you've got players like Cornelius who's coming in, who arguably could be a bit of a leader given his experience and his age and given he's an international player. But even he's probably come in and just thought, nope, this isn't my gig. I'll just kind of bide my time here. I'll take what's been said. I'll play as best I can. But you can see him even now. He's charging down balls in other players' positions because they're not there. I don't even think it needs to be what you say. I think that, like what you were talking about with Ant-Man earlier on, sometimes your actions on the pitch get a rise out of you. And if you're constantly going out and drawing and losing games, nobody really shines through as a winner or a leader or somebody who's pulled you through. So I don't think we're even going to get to see a positivity shift in that until we actually start winning some games and we can say, right, Miofsky's our man, he's scored 3 in the last 4. You know what I mean? Until it gets to that sort of point, everybody's going, well, what have you done last week? Like, we drew 2 each against Dundee United. Were you brilliant? No, you weren't. So stop talking to us like that. What have you done that's better than what I've done for you to tell me? I think somebody like Connor Cody coming in, or even the fact that Butland played in the Premier League, those are players that go, well, listen to me, because I've actually done it. Where you want to end up, I've already been there.
I think that links into the whole manager chat, because as JB said, like, you think of like the names have been linked with your Danny Rose, your Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is apparently the new favourite for the job out of absolutely nowhere. Like, I think Ole's obviously had a great career, a good CV, but you probably need that, because the playing squad doesn't have it. You need that leader type manager. It all kind of comes like full circle. It's a strange one, because at this point we have no idea who's going to be the manager yet again. We have a game on Thursday night. We don't know who's going to be taking that. Stevie Smith will probably take training tomorrow, we guess, but JB, I'm again clutching at straws to try and end on something positive here. Just what can we do to try and fix this? And that is an absolute $1 million question if ever there was one. But is there anything that first half that we take? Is it a case of a new manager bounce? Again, we're absolutely unknown at this point, isn't it? Again.
No, you just reminded me about Thursday. I had an email this morning from EasyJet asking me how my flight was to Oslo. And I was like, how was my flight to Oslo? It's not till Wednesday. I booked a flight to fly out this Thursday gone, this Wednesday gone last week. So just had to log in and buy another one. So yeah, I've got booked two flights to go to Norway on Wednesday. It's given me Aris vibes. Just absolute Aris vibes. Where I remember coming out of there, and I think I've said this on previous pods. I come out of that ground the lowest I've ever came out of a football stadium supporting Rangers, because I just thought we are a mess. Was it Stephen Davis, I think, was in charge, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, Ross McCausland came on and looked like the next best thing. That's where we were at the time. And then we obviously turned it round, and we had a relatively good end to that season in comparison to where we were. This on Thursday does feel really worrying. Are you going to get that new manager bounce that quickly? I don't think anyone's going to be in the door for Thursday. Just can't see it. Can't see how we're going to
I
get.
think they will. Funnily enough, I'm the opposite end. I think the manager gets announced in the next 48 hours, going by the sort of tweets that were coming out tonight. That it's going to be, well, I don't know if that's someone absolutely desperate. I don't know if it's someone very close to home. I don't know who exactly it's going to be, but I think
Yeah.
they must have thought, right, well, we need to just bite the bullet. It's going to be this guy, and hopefully that's all the conversation's been tonight. Again, I'm wishful thinking maybe, but
No, I'm not as hopeful, to be honest. I think I'm more give it to Smith, and then we know that we've got Kilmarnock on the Sunday. Let that game take care of itself, and then you're into Old Firm week. I mean, a trip to Easter Road, and then an Old Firm to kickstart your managerial career. I mean, it just depends on what type of character you are. You can imagine somebody like a Steven Gerrard coming in and licking his lips at the thought of an Old Firm semi-final. I also then think I can picture somebody like a Solskjaer or a Gary O'Neill going, "It wasn't my fault." Do you know what I mean? Oh, it was already rubbish. It was, or don't give me the job until after that's done, because I don't want to get off on a bad impression. These are the type of guys that we're probably going to be looking at. Your coaches don't want to be labelled with that. I said I feel really sorry for Stephen Smith, and the fact that we've put ourselves in this situation that we haven't got a management team that we can kind of point to go, you know what, there's something there. The fact that we haven't got I'm just obviously like a Barry Ferguson type. I know he's there as an ambassador, but or a Kevin Thompson or a Lee Wallace or someone there that you kind of go, you know what, there's a leader there. I mean, no disrespect to Stevie Smith. He's, as I said, I thought he's handled himself really well. However, he just doesn't strike me as that inspirational guy that you want to look to the side and go, you know what, this club means the world to him. He's obviously a good Rangers fan, a good lad. As I say, said a couple of times, spoke really well. But we haven't got the infrastructure within the club to be able to do that, to be able to kind of step somebody in. And that's another thing that we should have, the Thelwell and team should have done. It should have been a case of, right, we're going to, a big club promote from within. Do you know, like that's kind of the models you see all the times. We should be given the next Rangers manager should be already within the club. If you're operating like a really big club, if you look at that's the way the models that it's done in Holland, the way it's done in Belgium. They tend to take the under-21 manager and then move up. We just haven't got that model at all within the club. You start looking at the women's manager and you start going, right, show me her badges. What can she do? She might be the best coach that we've got at the club.
Patricia Thelwell could be next.
Patricia Thelwell, yeah. Fucking hell, get Thelwell's man in. But it's you do start looking at absolute wild alternatives at the moment, because I think we're in that place. Just give it to Broxy to the end. Give it to Broxy till Christmas. But no, joking aside, it's as I've said a couple of times on the pod already, it's going to be an interesting week. That's for certain. But it won't take a lot to turn it round. Again, if you want to try and finish on a bit of a positive note, if this team could spring, if we could win every game from now to the, now till Friday, be good. But if we could win every game from now to the international break, all of a sudden you're probably 6 points behind. You're probably 5-6 points behind them. You're into a final of a League Cup. You've got your Europa League season kicked off. Decent win against Kilmarnock, hopefully. go and show a really good performance and win at Easter Road. We're not far away from turning it round if the players and the club can find it within them to do it. As I said, then you put your realistic hat on. Have this group, and I go through the whole club from the top to the bottom. Have they got the heart to turn it round right now, or do they need that inspiration? Do they need that spark, which will be a again the old figurehead phrase? But as I say, there's not a lot out there. So who we're going to bring? It's such a massive appointment. It's just so damning that we are where we are now.
Yeah, I guess probably the most positive way we could possibly end this one after that weekend it's gone. Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks for the comments as always. Any like on the video is always appreciated, as are the subscriptions. We're back on Tuesday with Craig and Kieran, and then it'll be me and Tommy here on Thursday night after the game. God knows who'll be in charge for that one, but we'll live in hope that we have someone at very least. But thanks everyone for joining, and we'll see you next time.